Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, your paranormal portal podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by this supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together.
Hi, do I have a head? Maybe I don't have a head. Maybe I should move back. Now I don't have a body. Oh gosh, interesting night already. Here I go back and forth. I'm stuck in a porthole. Hello, everybody. How are you doing? Ted, you wonderful thing. You just give you big hugs. Sasha Bell, mwah, kisses, kisses, kisses. Glenn, there's some hugs for you too. Salvador, big hug for you. Ann, how you doing, darling? Big hugs, big hugs, big hugs. Hello, everybody. So today I was talking to all good here. And Edna, how you doing? Listen, Gray, I saw what you just put up there about your struggle over the past couple weeks, and I do feel for you. Hello, Uncommon. I'll tell you what, that stuff you got there that you got last week, that'll kick its butt. There's no two ways about it. I mean, it's just been. Let's put it this way: if you go and you read reviews and something's got a lot of 5-star reviews, you kind of feel better about purchasing whatever, and then you wonder like how many of those people were paid to put that review. I mean, you're just you think about stuff like that. You have to these days because there's a scammer, behind every phone call. There's something going on all the time. They're always trying to get you, so you have to be, like Sherlock Holmes on steroids, just to take friggin' vitamins for Pete's sakes. Are they, manufactured right? Are they overproduced? Is it, yes, probably there's probably stealing from you. So you really have to dig to find the right stuff. But once you get the right stuff, if you've got somewhere upwards of, 3,000 people over the years that I personally have bumped into and know of that have taken this and had some kind of wonderful effect. And I had a lady, and I don't want to say the name on it. You guys know what I'm talking about. But I had a lady, and I worked next to her. Hey, be kind. Um, for I want to say a good 7 years in retail when I worked for AC Moore, and she had worked there forever before that, and Kmart before that. You know the deal. Anyway, she's always on her feet. And if you're a server or a bartender or somebody that works on their feet all day and does that kind of stuff, hey Jose, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't, then you just it's incredible what servers, waitresses, cooks, all these people do to their legs, their feet, and their backs. They're throughout their lives just trying to put food on the table. So I worked next to this lady, and she had it was one of the wonderful case studies because she was taking it for arthritis, and she was one of these that 3 days before it rained, her knee would swell up, her ankle would swell up, or something in her elbow. She had the thing in her wrist, whatever you call that, carpal tunnel. I think Donnie was talking about that today. Anyway, that's what they're calling it now. It just means you've hurt your wrist from straining or the way you hold your hands or what you do, repetitiously. Anyway, it was fun to watch her, and she was just a go-getter, and she was just on it. She's like, well, I'm going to take, if these people are taking this much, I'm going to up it and see what happens, because I haven't had any adverse effects. So anyway, she kept going to the doctor, and she kept teasing the doctor, and she went like, oh gosh, over the time I worked with her, at least 10 times, to the doctor for this or that and the other. And as she would go, the doctor would show how she was progressing with her her blood sugars and her blood pressure and her allergies disappeared. And she had allergies since she was 10 years old. She was like 68. She was up there. And anyway, these things would just slowly peel away. And it was fun to listen to her as she had injured her body and as throughout her life and the different things that she had done to her body. I'm telling you all this for a reason, because you got to heal yourself. So you got to know these little things that tell big tales. It's a little thing, but it tells so much about your body and how it heals. So she's taking it, she's up in it, and she's doing AM, noon, and night. And she's like, I didn't get my allergies this season. This is incredible, because she would have horrible, horrible pollen in her eyes and her nose and the whole shebang. Then she didn't get it. Then a big storm's coming. Can't remember which one it was. It wasn't Sandy. It was something else. And everybody's aching and, this and that. She's like, my hip isn't aching. And then it would be her knee. Like the next year, she was like, well, the hip is gone and the knee thing is gone. So what I'm trying to tell you in this long manner is, as it was almost like the bones and injuries she had were peeling back away from her as she took this in reverse order of how she got them. So meaning to say that the hip issue that she got from ice skating when she was a young teen, went out after the knee injury she got when she was 25 in a car wreck or whatever it was. And, the swelling of that and the inflammation and the pain and the sharp pains that she would get before storms and things like that. So that's what I'm saying. You kind of got to be your own person, and you got to, go slowly and add what you feel like you want to add. And then you get a storm and you kind of see how your body acts to that. Like your hands are starting to get a little zappy, or they start to swell up, or your knee starts to hurt. Try it yet and another one and see what that does and that kind of thing. But anyway, there you go. And I'm glad that you're over that mess. But I'm telling you, that stuff, if you take it right, that's the thing with herbs. Sometimes it's not, you don't take enough of it, or in a succession. So think about, if you're taking something as an antibiotic type of the thing, you take it like an antibiotic, like you say, like every 6 hours, don't miss a dose. Yes, get up in the middle of the night, take one, or something like that. But you got to think about it like that too. It's like the same with silver. It's hard to take too much, but it's very easy not to take enough and not on top of it. So anyway, hello everybody that I missed. Be kind and everybody else. So let's bring Donnie Cho in here. Sorry, I didn't mean to rattle on.
Hello.
Look,
Hi.
the boy. Hello, Donnie. I'm looking around for the boy.
Hello, everybody. How's it
Uh,
going? Do you hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you, honey.
Okay. Just making sure.
Crazy
I
way
was
to
not
do it.
hearing myself.
That's the way to do it, Gray. That's the way to do it.
Lindsay's joint pain is still
I
bad,
just
but
always
I'm
tap my
increasing my
brakes
dose
for
gradually.
somebody, that's suffering and stuff like that. I hate that. Unseen, how you doing, sugar? Hi, baby.
Hello.
Hello, and everybody in here. So, what's going on with you, Donnie Cho? It's been kind of a week for me. It's been all about the boys and the kitten, and
Well, I was recently
they eat so much. They eat so much.
I was recently on Texas Front Porch, and we had a podcast on Thursday. It was a lot of fun.
So much fun.
It was just two nerds geeking out over the paranormal, and
oh wow,
there was a lot of laughs,
you
and it was
fun?
a good time.
Go ahead and throw
Please,
that
please
link in
check it
here.
out if you can see it, because I'm actually quite proud of that episode. I think
there you go.
I think it turned out pretty good. So
still
riding high on that.
Very good. Once you start doing this, it does get fun.
Yeah.
Going on other people's shows and stuff like that, and telling the stories. And, oh, geez, what in the world? What happened? Did you just hit yourself? You just banged your. Speaking of bad knees, uncommon belief, just knee into the corner of the table. I think we're wrestling kittens. It was a great episode. Be kind to saying, oh look, you're not gonna believe. Look. You're zapping out. Look, let me
Go
see if I can
ahead.
get you in there good. There we go. Can you see him now? Trying to catch him. Whoops. Oh, he's zapping out. Here, grab the basket. Let me see if I can get him without the basket. This camera's come here, baby. Come here, baby. Oh my goodness, there's a
Cisco
baby.
loves
See
her
him?
kitties. She loves
Oh
them
my!
cutie pies.
Look at the face. Look at the face, everybody. This is Spirit.
He's just like, where am I?
This is how he is. He's like a rag
Yeah,
doll. You know, like the kind of the
yeah.
just the floppy little
Hmm.
little rag. Look at that. Look at this.
Yeah, my Toby's like that too.
Who could not love this? Look at that. Look here, Star. Can you say hi to everybody? They're gonna watch you grow up. I'm just holding him. He's crazy. Yeah. You got big old paws. Is he? Go with your brother. Say bye. Say bye. Oh yeah, okay. Here you
Hello,
go.
Salvador.
There you go. All right. Oh, the babies. I know. Oh my gosh. Yeah, his eyes are
Has
something
it
to be
been a
kind.
full-time job lately with the kitties, Cisco?
Yeah, I mean, well, they were just instant. You know, isn't he? 1 week he has grown. They eat constantly. They're like velociraptors. They really are. And no, they sleep. They sleep with me. Um, they've started to acclimate to the whole house. Like this is
Hmm.
like the first full day they're running around the whole house. So
Okay.
usually you get them safe in one spot and then gradually get them out and you go, wow, there's a bigger world out here. We were looking out the back window today, so out the back porch, and it's like, oh my God, what's this?
Hmm.
They've been sitting in the window watching birds and running up and down the hallway. And then we just like the living room, and but anytime they'll eat just about anything, so nothing is safe, you know. But
And they always sleep with you?
yeah, yep,
Hmm.
and they gravitate to me. I'm on the couch, they're on me. It's like the minute I picked them up in the pound and I did the whole neck purr, kiss thing, it was just the love. Just they know where they're safe.
Hmm.
They know, they know who's gonna spoil them rotten.
Hmm.
So, but and they get along with everybody. It's just that's where they gravitate. I wake up in the morning and that's what I see. Meow 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 in stereo.
Hmm.
It's great. It's great. Like I
Well, that'll
said, if
be
you want to
kind.
try your best to fill a hole that life ripped a big old hole in your chest, just try to fill it with love, because if nothing else, you're going to be so busy you can't think about it like you were. But
Well, whenever
yeah,
you
they,
got a
they
hole
make
in
me
your
smile.
heart, you got two options. You could either fill it with love or fill it with booze. I'll tell you the latter is usually
Yeah,
a better recommendation.
yeah. I've tried the booze. Tried the
Yeah.
booze. The booze was, oh God, the bottle of another bottle. God, I could write songs. I'm telling you, especially the shit I used to drink. I didn't play. I went through these things where it would be tequila. It was bad tequila. I was young, didn't know any better. Then I went to
Ooh,
yeah, oh God,
that
rock gut.
tequila tastes bad.
Then I went from tequila, no lime, no salt, just like the ghost, just straight up. And then I went to Jack. Then I did a hop, skip, and a jump right into Bacardi 151. I would do double shots of that,
I used to get
and
insulted. I
and
used to get
work.
insulted. I used to get insulted whenever I got my tequila when they showed me the lime and salt because I'm like, what do I look like to you? I'm a sorority girl. I drink it straight
Well,
like a
you do when
man.
you're dressed like Yoko, Donnie.
Yeah.
There's
I have no
that.
memory of that night. I had missing
Hey
time. I
Sue,
don't know what
welcome
happened.
in, welcome in. Yep. I know we're 18 minutes in, guys. We haven't even started talking about Jack the Ripper. So this is different. It's not one of those where Donnie and I have dug and dug and dug and are going to uncover all of these things. I had an in
Hmm.
search of Jack the Ripper, and I wanted to watch it with you guys. I hadn't seen the whole thing. I wanted to watch it with you guys and then talk about kind of, yeah, 151. Good Lord, how I didn't explode in my 20s, I don't
I'll
know.
be totally honest,
Self
guys.
combust.
I found out about this Jack the Ripper like last minute, and I just totally Wikipedia'd it. But I found some interesting stuff that I would like to discuss and share.
Well, I've talked to some people that have been, very close to this, like the gentleman, oh gosh, what's his name? Simon Entwistle, who gives tours at the where Jack the Ripper murders happened. And he can tell you all of the ins and outs. He was the first one that really told me what the dosos were like and stuff, where you paid like 4 pence or something, and you could go in and just you're buying a spot to lean against a rope, you know, or to share a bed with a total stranger and God knows what kind of lice and fleas and all kind of mess. I mean, this was horrible. It was a horrible, horrible place, and um, you know, things have been said that was like where the lowest of human beings clutch to life, and
Are
eke out every day,
you
which is
talking
the
about
truth.
Whitechapel?
Yeah, it was horrible.
Yeah,
So we've had
Whitechapel's bad.
Simon talk to us about all of that and what type of women these were and where they were and what kind of life they had to have, how quickly they fell into it. Um, and then we've had Dr. Ramsland on, who is, writes for Psychology Today, is, an accredited psychologist that has studied the Jack the Ripper case, her entire career, which is going way up into, 30 plus years now. So we've
Oh,
had all kinds of different spectrums on here, but to
can I just
me,
highlight
it's
a comment?
sure. Go ahead.
Glenn Dannison said, Jose had the best line about Donnie's costume. I'm gonna die in 7 days. I'm still laughing. And then I suddenly understood, oh, he's talking about the ring. Because at the time I didn't get it. I was like, what?
Oh, that's funny. You're talking
I
about the
suddenly
ring.
understood. I was like, oh, good one, Jose. Good one.
That's funny. Good one, Jose. Yeah. So, so I just thought we would look at this and see how much has really changed. Now, before we look at it, Donnie, you said you know a little bit about it. You don't know too much. I mean, I know a lot. I can't name a lot of names, and there were
I know about the
multiple
general
suspects.
history around that time.
There were multiple suspects going around at the same time. There was Leather Apron. There was the aristocrat who was said to have had a love affair with a prostitute. She got pregnant, and the whole thing was to cover all of that up. There was the wacky doctor who worked for the Royals, and they were covering that up. Um, for whatever reason, this happened, and just within a couple of months, and then it stopped. There's even been the recent one where I forget the guy's name, Mudgett. He is the great grandson of H. Holmes, and he spent this whole thing, TED Talks and all, and a whole show trying to prove that H. Holmes was in fact Jack the Ripper, which I'm not really, I don't know the man, but I watched all the TED Talks. I watched the whole symposium that they had on it and the whole series. And I'm not really, I'm not in that club. I mean, he may have taken a ship at the right time, from, I'm talking about H. Holmes now, and went into London as possible. But there was a lot more, if you really dig on it, there were a lot more documents in Chicago during the killings in Whitechapel that proved that H. Holmes was in Chicago. I mean, if you have to remember the little bit we talked about H. Holmes, is he was going through an awful lot of lawsuits. I mean, he would order all this furniture for that murder mansion in Chicago, and no intention whatsoever of paying it. He would just say, well, come and get it. And he'd hide all the furniture in these hidden rooms and stuff, and they couldn't find it. Or, they'd say, you didn't pay for the piano, or you didn't pay for this. And he says, well, if you're going to take it out, I'm going to sue you for all the damage you did. So he just kept those things going back and forth and all these little civil lawsuits in him. There's a lot of documents placing H. Holmes in and around Chicago around the times of the Whitechapel Jack the Ripper murder. So I'm not really in that club of buying that they're one and the same person. But again, I can't say they aren't either, because documents are signed. He had different people signing things for him. Some of his girlfriends, his wives, signed his name for things. So again, we're faced with that inevitable, the only evidence we have is the evidence we have. And, we're not even sure about that stuff, because you had just like now, you have botched a criminal investigation. You have people with an agenda that might be involved in the case. You've got wannabe people for attention writing letters, such as the From Hell letter, which has never been proven it was from Jack the Ripper. And you have the Dear Boss
Wait, did you say it was
one.
or it wasn't?
It was never proven that he
Oh,
sent it, or I could have sent it. It doesn't. They don't just saying it says from Jack the Ripper doesn't mean it was from Jack the
but
Ripper. That's the
didn't it
point.
come included with like a piece of a human kidney though?
There
And
was some
that's what was
stuff
like
like that,
missing.
but again, they would like lose the evidence, or they would
Hmm.
misplace this, or
Yeah.
it was always stuff like that.
There was a lot of malarkey going on with the media at that time too.
Well, yeah, absolutely, Donnie. And the thing is, too, is like with that, that's a good thing to bring up because something like that would be said to have happened. Like the letter, um, not the Dear Boss one. I think it was the one. The Dear Boss one actually called himself, gave his moniker Jack the Ripper because it was signed Jack
Yeah,
the
that's where it
Ripper.
comes from. Yeah.
Right. The From Hell letter, I think, was written in red ink to look like it was blood, but of course it wasn't blood because if it was blood, it wouldn't be red anymore. It'd be this brown, red, dark red, nasty brown look, to it.
Yeah.
It would be all, chipped as rolled up paper. So, I mean, he used red ink for that effect, but again, not proven. Catherine Ramsland would tell you, never proven that that letter ever came from Jack the Ripper. And then you have stuff I've heard over the past couple decades of it's been proven with DNA on a shawl. Well, no, because the shawl was proven to have been decades after the murders happened, before they started making those type of shawls. The DNA on it could have been from anybody and anything. You're talking about this was a shawl that a prostitute used for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, probably without ever washing it. And any DNA on that would be inconclusive at best to say anything about anybody. That would be like taking the DNA off of off a doorknob of Grand Central Station or some shit. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like we have
Hmm.
DNA on here. I bet you have like 5,000 different DNAs on there. Do you see what I mean? So there was nothing conclusive about that, no matter what you hear. It's very much like the JFK thing. These things sound good, like what Donnie just said. Well, didn't one of those letters come with a piece of kidney? Okay. Was the kidney tested? What did it belong to Catherine Eddowes? Was
That
it
was
a
not.
cow
That was not.
kidney? But you see
They.
what I mean? Was it a cow
Yeah.
kidney? Was it something that back then somebody was just trying to taunt the Scotland Yard, because there was a lot of that going on.
Mhm.
Criminals love to taunt back and forth because every time they did something, if it was may not even been Jack the Ripper, could have just been anybody, but they loved to taunt because anytime something like that would happen, the papers would get a hold of it and it would blow all up again. So if it was a killer and they like to hear about themselves like a
Um,
narcissistic,
can
you
can I
know,
speak on something on that regard with the newspapers actually? Um, there's some interesting stuff I found out about the history at the time in England, especially with Whitechapel, right?
okay, hit the light,
Um,
guys.
so the murders occurred in 1888, and 8 years prior, in 1880, the English government passed this law called the Elementary Education Act. And basically,
Okay.
what it did was it would made it required by law for children of a certain age to attend school. And the reason why they established this law is one, they wanted to get rid of child labor,
Uh-huh.
and two, they wanted to increase the literacy rate because one of the
Yes,
side effects of child labor a lot of people don't point out enough is that it leads to illiteracy. And once someone grows up illiterate, it's hard for them to function in society. So people
absolutely true.
understood that, passed the Elementary Education Act. So by the time 8 years later, the population went from like 60% literacy rates to like 90%
Mhm.
literacy rates. Right? So like at this point, everyone was able to read, right? So
Mhm.
that's first part. The second part was that the government had just pulled some kind of tax thing against the newspaper companies. So prior to this act, newspapers were like not daily. They were more expensive. But once they repealed this tax, like then that's when daily newspapers started to become a thing. Like daily cheap newspapers.
Mhm.
That's around the time they started was around the time of Jack the Ripper. Now you got these daily newspapers that are like dirt cheap. Plus you
Mhm.
got like now you got 90% of the population that can read. This was the first viral true crime story ever in
Yeah,
the world.
so true.
And
Well put.
like and
Yep.
this is when newspapers were invented. This was like the first headline,
Mhm. Mhm.
you
So
know?
true. Very well put. That is a very important point. People were becoming more literate, and papers, city paper, where there might be one now, you have to understand that even when I was a kid, there was like, four major ones. You had, the Wall Street Journal, you had all these different ones coming out of New
Mhm.
York. You also had your major ones from New Jersey. You had Star Ledger, Asbury Park Press, you had, the other locals. But then there might have been 100 in the city, different papers. And you had the newsboys or newsies were standing on the corner trying to push their paper. So it was a big thing. And Donnie's right. This was the first big uh, viral murder case out there. And
This
also,
was the birth of
it
the
was
true
about
crime genre.
pictures. Yeah. And it was
Yeah.
about the pictures and stuff that they would put in there. Because think back, we were talking about, um, you know, uh, J.H. Holmes, and they only had a couple of pictures of him. This is the same time in London, same time as your World's Fair. The Chicago World's Fair is going on, and all of that around the same time. This is going on in London. And people don't think about that. They think it was like further away. It wasn't. The same damn time. So that always blows your mind when you think about the different things going on and how things were in those areas at that time and what was commonplace and what wasn't. But the London and cities like Chicago and New York and Boston and Philadelphia, these places were booming with newspapers and stuff
Hey
now.
there, old religion dystopia too.
Yeah, and also the way it happened, it was very much like, you know, uh, you almost would think of a serial killer. You don't quite think of it when you say it, but it's like a serial anything, a serial, soap opera that comes out. They were called serials at first, because I used to get it confused with the cereal you ate in the morning. I'm like, okay, well, they don't come on till noon, so why are they called? I actually remember doing that as a kid, but it's a serial, like a serial novel, like Charles Dickens would write,
Hmm.
um, and let it out chapter by chapter by chapter, which would boost interest, of course, in solving the mystery or what was going to happen next. But it's the same with a serial killer. It's the next chapter. Each victim is
Hmm.
another chapter in a serial killer's, you know I guess, the life of a serial killer. So that's what was happening with Jack the Ripper. And people were not only just scared, um, but they were talking about it as far as how he was able to get away the way he did. So you hear things of secret tunnels under different places, to go from one place to another. Very true, and still have them to this day. You know, so different things like that, and the mysteriousness of it. How was he able to get um,
This is London. They've got like
away so
mysterious
quiet? Yeah,
tunnels and hidden
yeah.
nooks like all over that city.
Yeah, and but also cobblestone streets, and if you think there
Yeah.
was hard soled shoes back then, and that was one of the things people were talking about. It's like, how can we not hear him running away or whatever? And a lot of people don't realize this, but what Jack the Ripper did, now how they found this out, I do not know. But one thing that they said for sure was that he put rubber on the bottom of his shoes so he could get away quieter. And the thing that trips me out is that's where sneakers started, and that's where it gets its name sneaker from, because they were sneakers that would put these on because they were sneaking around committing crimes. So
Damn,
that's
Jack the
another
Ripper
thing that
invented
came from it.
sneakers?
Hello, Peanut.
Oh man, that's mind blowing. Jack the Ripper invented sneakers.
How about that? This is
I'm
Boo. We'll
I'm
come
never
to
gonna
say
look at
hi.
Michael Jordan the same way.
he just looks just like their brothers. They look just such alike. Hey, old religion, how you doing? What is it? You just tired? You just sleepy. They're so hungry, and then they're so sleepy, and then they're so crazy,
I
right?
hope they don't wind up like fat, like Garfield.
They're already fat. Look at that belly. Look
Oh,
at the
they're getting
belly.
fat.
Look at that belly. Oh
Uh-oh.
my God, yeah. Yeah, I told fat, but that's okay. He's got gray eyes. Go get down with your brother. Here's your brother. There you go. We got to pause for kittens. Pause. Oh. They got everything for Christmas this year is their buffalo plaid. So everything. I just ordered buffalo plaid bow ties for their Christmas picture. I'm going nuts. They can get everything. They get anything they want. They have cat toys they haven't opened yet.
Oh, are
It's
you
just
gonna like dress them up? You're gonna dress them up, aren't you?
bow ties. I think that's the.
Bow
I
ties?
think that. Yeah. I think that's that's classic. Just the buffalo plaid bow tie, and they got their stockings today. Now they're in their basket. They're so right. They have so much stuff. Yep. And their middle name is McGee after Dickens McGee. And everything that they get, I tell them Dickens gave it to them because I think Dickens would be very happy to see his stuff being played with and you know things like that. So, yep, they're cute as all get out. I'm telling you right now. They're actually kittens in a fucking basket. It doesn't get any cuter than that, man. I'm telling you.
And we're
So,
going from serial killers to kittens and back to
yep,
serial killers again and then back to kittens. We're
and
going
back
like
to
full spectrum here tonight.
Whiplash. But if you can see, right now they're in a basket with fur, buffalo plaid Christmas stockings that Santa gave them early today, so they can hang them up and can get filled up. And they're kneading in a basket, so it's a cute pullover. There's nothing I can do about it.
Have they
Yep,
discovered the joys
and
of
they're purring. I
cardboard
can hear them from
boxes
here.
yet?
Say what?
Have they discovered the joys of cardboard boxes yet?
Corbin, they have everything, Donnie. You
Oh,
don't. They have everything. They have a brand new down comforter. They've got um, every toy. They got mice that squeak, ducks that quack. They've got mice that run. Oh, Ted. Oh, for catnip for the babies. Thank you, Ted. Oh gosh, they do. They have catnip. I almost bought them the grass today, but I didn't want to overflow their stomach. The fresh grass. You know. But Dickens was so spoiled, and he had so many toys, and there was a few that were special that went with him and all that other stuff. Thank you so much, Ted. You're so sweet. It is proper money. Yep, that's the real English stuff right there, baby. So yeah, it makes me happy to buy them stuff and you know find out what they like to play with and the little squishy foil balls or the little mice things. What's their favorite? You know, so they're very loved and it definitely helps, because there's a lot of people, a lot of things out there need to be loved. And if I didn't tell you, look up your local pound. It's a lot easier to adopt. They need you more. I'm not going to say they need you more than a rescue. That wouldn't be fair to the rescues. But usually rescues, they are fostered. They're cared for. They're able to be in little homes and things like that sometimes. So check into that. But your pound, go down there. Don't overlook them. A lot of them have websites where you can look at pictures. Adopt a senior dog or a senior cat that maybe they're people had to move during this horrible time and this COVID mess and all this other shit that's gone on. People forget what happens to the animals. You got dogs in there that are 8 years old, have been with a family, and all of a sudden that family moves and can't take the dog and they dump the dog off. That dog needs love and it'll probably provide you with a lot of
what kind of
friendship.
shithead would do that?
Well, people, things happen, Donnie, and people, they just
Still, man, your
don't
dog.
know how to handle and everybody's different. It's like, well, I got a job and we got an apartment, but you can't take the dog, and they make it an option where some people that wouldn't be an option. They wouldn't even come into their thoughts that they would. I lived in my car with my cat because they told me I couldn't have him. Screw that. I mean, that's my friend. Coming between me and But that's how I think. Not everybody thinks that way, but it is definitely for a small amount of money, and usually you can get a lot of help. If you're hurting or whatever, people think I can't hardly afford to feed me. It's really not that much uh more, and the payback and the love, you know. I remember a quick story. So one of my exes, I'm not going to tell you who, we were watching this movie where they were on a desert island, and things were, people, it was starting to get, hairy, and you start, what would you do on a desert island to survive? So it comes up that, if you were on a desert island with your pets or whatever, and I'm like, don't even say it. And he looked at my dog, who was supposed to be, for that moment on, he was only my dog. Trust me, because I would say our dog, part of it. Not after this. He said if he was on a desert island, he goes, man, he said, I'd have to eat you. And I looked at the dog looked at me, and I'm going, we'll drown him first. It's like we just knew telepathically, if we go down, don't even bother saving his ass. You and me were pedaling toward the island, grab
You know,
something else.
I'm not like a violent person or anything, but if my dog told me to go out and kill someone, I would do it. Thankfully, Toby doesn't have telepathic abilities,
Yeah,
so
Son of Sam
good.
can talk to you about that,
Yeah,
because the dog across the street told him to go kill a bunch of people, and he did as well. But yeah, I would die with my dog. Are you kidding me? And he knew it. He looked in my eyes, and he knew that I got a biscuit, you got a biscuit. You know what I mean? I just don't understand. But go think about it. If you know an elderly person that would love a lap kitty, doesn't
mm,
need a lot of care. Cats are very self-sufficient for the most part. You could even offer to maybe go over and help, care for the cat. Dogs are a little harder, but he's got to walk them if you don't have a yard where you just let him out. Maybe do something like that this Christmas season for
I've always
somebody. Help
been
them get a pet. You
I've
know.
always been lucky with like landlords throughout my life.
Hmm.
Them being like, cool with my pet and not having to pay so much extra. So, knock on wood.
They're actually asleep in the basket. I can't even believe it. It's just they want to be near me. It's like you can't tell me spirit isn't involved in this, because they follow me. While I'm on the couch, they're on the couch. I'm in the bed, they're in the bed. You know, you can't tell me if you don't reach out there, your spirit guides. That's why I'm saying there could be an elderly person somewhere that needs a little help. That one of these cats could be just their light, or one of these dogs. I mean, it's like I said, it's harder with the dogs, especially for older people to get out and walk them. But maybe that could be part of the gift. Hire some neighborhood kid that's responsible, give them a job. A couple of people chip in, and I think it's great when they take some of these elderly homes and they take a bunch of homeless animals and they put the animals with so that they can help care for the animals. The animals get love too. I mean, why aren't we doing more things like this? We're human beings. We've been around. Have we not learned that this is the way? Love is the way, and community is the way. And I don't know. I just know there's a lot of animals, and I've only got so much, and I'm trying to give as much as I can. You know what I mean? The birds and everything. Because gosh, nature, man. If it's true that we get to connect with these animals and they meet us on the other side, and I believe it to be true, then I'm gonna have a lot over there, and I'm gonna be just fine. I'm gonna meet a lot of old faces and old friends over there. So, what do you think, there, Donnie? Do you want to watch a little
If I see
Nimoy?
if I see all my pets in the afterlife, yo, I'm pushing Jesus aside. I'm be like, yo, you wait your turn, buddy.
Oh, I gotta be.
Yeah, yeah,
I don't
Jesus, you're
know.
gonna have to wait.
Can
I gotta say hi to my pets. I gotta reunite with my pets, and then the second thing I gotta do is high five Macho Man Randy Savage, and then we'll talk.
you see a little bit? The
Oh,
camera's
I see him a
blinking
little
you. There you go. Kittens in a basket, folks. You're the cutest thing ever. Mom will buy you a Porsche tomorrow. If I had the money, I wouldn't have the money because I'd be buying, you know. It's like having babies. When you have babies, you buy them all the cute little outfits and stuff. Bowl of kittens. Yep, that. That's what it is. It's like a little bowl of kittens. That's the
Oh
Christmas
yeah,
part.
I've got like a
Yep.
huge pile of Toby's toys in my room right now. It's just like this growing mountain that gets bigger and bigger.
Well, you find out what they like because sure enough, it's
Hmm.
going to be some old tennis ball, uh, or it's going to be like Boo loves this little gray fur mouse, and Spirit kind of connected. There's this little cloud I got him. Don't ask me why. It was cute, and it's like a little cloud, and when you tap it, it flashes blue like there's thunder and lightning in the little cloud, and it's got feathers attached to it for some reason, but he loves that, and it's adorable. So there you go. But welcome to the kitten show. That's what I ought to do. They just give them their own channel and just put a camera on them because they're hysterical. you know,
You
probably.
should do a separate podcast just about pets.
Yep, just about that.
We should
Yep,
do a pet talk show.
yep. Yeah, they have a lot to say. They're pretty mouthy. I'm pretty sure they're cussing already.
Oh yeah, be kind. That's his hobby actually.
Mm.
She got me like a treat blossom thing, and you
Oh, how
put it like
cool.
little pieces of treats in it, and then because Toby's naturally like the kind of dog that likes to search through stuff, like the smaller dogs. So it's a lot of fun for him.
That's why when people who come into PetSmart, they say, well, I have a dog, but every toy I buy him, he finds a way to get the thing and pull the squeaker out. I said, well, you have a hunting dog. They're not going to give up until they find out what's making the sound, and that's a huge thing. So what you do is you get the stuffed animal, and you don't throw out the outside, the carcass. You take all the stuffing out of a stuffed animal. You basically have a carcass of a stuffed animal. You take an old T-shirt and you cut the T-shirt up so it's in one continuous long string. So like you would peel an apple with one long thing, and that way it's one long string that they can pull out, kind of like a clown pulling out these scarves, out of their sleeve or whatever, and they're all tied together. So you restuff the animal that way, and you can just buy the squeakers. There's like 6 in a pack or something. You get it at PetSmart online, just the squeak, and you put the squeakers back in, and you just sew it real quick back up where they bust it open and give it back to them because it's in a different spot and it's going to stimulate them the same way. You don't have to keep buying a $20 toy. I used to go get my big dogs stuff like the thrift store and pull the stuffing out and hide a squeaker in there. And usually it's the ones like labs and different ones like that who are so inquisitive they want to find out what that squeaker is, and that's the prize when they find that. So there you go. Pussy galore. That's funny, AJK. I should so do that. Do you think that YouTube would let me get away with that? Or do you think people would think I was a
No,
James
honestly,
Bond channel and
Cisco,
get pissed?
like all you gotta do is do a live cam of your kittens and then just let it run
Just
while they
leave it on
play,
that.
and then you'll get like a
On the bird.
million subs.
Yep.
That's
One
how it
of them
works.
watching the bird feeder.
Hello, worldwide ghosts.
Hello, worldwide ghost. How you doing? Yeah, just them watching the bird feeder is a real hoot because you got the birds and the kittens watching the bird. It's adorable. Can't beat it.
You'd be
So there you
amazed
go.
at how popular some of these like really pointless
Yeah,
YouTube channels get.
I listen, dude.
You
I
know?
once watched a guy on YouTube laughed my ass off because I was reading the comments underneath of it, and I just got the really tickled, and I couldn't stop laughing. Everything was so funny. It was such dry, sarcastic humor. It just got to me. But I once watched this one guy. It wasn't a DIY channel. It was more like a hack, like these best hacks. I once watched this guy take apart two lighters to make one. I'm like, what is this guy doing? What did I just watch here? Like, he actually took apart two lighters to make one lighter. And then the comments under it, and he's like making these things, and he draw like a triangle,
Oh,
but or a
worldwide ghost.
circle and cut a square. It's
Worldwide
weird.
Ghost just said, "I live in East London, right next to the Jack the Ripper locations." Oh, he actually
Wow,
lives
do
there.
you? Do you see? That's what I'm saying. Now, let me ask you this, worldwide. I was just saying, um, we're gonna watch the In Search of version of the Jack the Ripper with Leonard Nimoy, and that was done in 1974, I believe. And I was wondering, how much more we really learned since then. There's been a lot of theories, and there's been a lot of case closed, like Patricia Cornwell, and she spent a lot of money writing those books on Jack the Ripper because she paid for all those DNA tests and everything else. She's testing DNA on envelopes and everything else. But again, you have the DNA from the envelope that somebody licked to send the letter that says, I'm Jack the Ripper. You don't have any proof to say the person that sent the letter was Jack the Ripper. You see what I'm saying? That's why I thought it was so good that Donnie said that about the liver. Yes, was that letter, with a piece of liver? Was the liver ever tested to see if it was Catherine Eddowes? No. Did they lose the piece of? Yes. Did the cops do it to, get, you know, if somebody does something to make the cops look like a bunch of idiots, then they're going to put out stuff that makes them not look like idiots. So it's a back and forth chess game in the newspapers, like Donnie brought up too. And nothing could be, yeah, the DNA too. Who you compared the DNA to? There was no DNA found on any of the girls. There wasn't any taken. In London's a hellhole. Yeah, I mean, it's just,
Yeah, but Whitechapel back in the late 19th century was bad, bad. I
yeah.
mean, that
Oh
place
yeah.
was overrun. I think what had happened was there was an influx of Irish immigrants, but at the same time, there was like this purge in Russia of all these of the Jews. So a whole bunch of Jewish immigrants all moved into this one neighborhood with the Irish immigrants, and they had like communal housing because they couldn't fit everyone. It was just too many people, and there was
And
just so
it
much
depends on the
crime,
DNA. I mean, with some of these other things,
anti-Semitism.
they got to dig down into the molars to get the meat out of the teeth, in some of these things they're trying to get DNA to, that, they're comparing whether it's John Wilkes Booth's bones to his brother's bone, or whatever. They had nothing to match it to. I
Hmm.
mean, you have these elaborate series, documentaries, new evidence found, or, you know, okay, great. What's the evidence linking to? Is it proving this one person did it? Is it proving another person didn't do it? Is it taking them out of the equation? That's why I'm saying tonight's not that show where I'm going through all this different evidence and trying to prove who I think did it. I don't know who did it. I have my suspicions that,
Worldwide Ghost is right. Buckets of piss thrown out of windows. I mean, that's how they did it
oh my
back
God,
then.
yeah. Oh my
That's
God,
how
yeah.
they did it.
Yeah. And a real slum. Absolutely. I mean, you
Oh,
can wonder.
you want to know a disturbing story I heard about that place?
Very
Um,
dark, yeah.
they said at night you could hear the sound of like babies crying, and those are all like the newborn babies that had been abandoned in like ditches and stuff around that area because of so much prostitution.
So much prostitution, so
Yeah,
much stuff, so much crime, so many bugs, disease,
it was
fleas,
bad. It
lice,
was bad.
nasty. I mean, these girls for 4 pence, just for the right to stand and lean up against a rope in one of these hovels, would just hike their skirt in any dark alley for anybody that came along. It wasn't hard for these guys to get them down a dark alley. You see what I mean? And they would have gone with them. Now these, again, when I tell you what I have picked up the past couple of days looking into this, one thing that was echoed a lot was these were not, little willow of a wisp girls. These were girls, ladies that had been out there on the street. They had some street cred. Granted, some of them were drunk because gin was very cheap then, and for a small amount, you could get quite a bit of gin. It was one thing that flowed pretty freely on that, along with the fleas and the lice. But you know, one of the girls, it wasn't Catherine Eddowes, it was another one, who had said, "I've already made my money 7 times over tonight," but she kept spending it on gin, and she just went out one more time to try to get money to stay in one of these little hovels, for the night. And that's when she met Jack the Ripper. So you had that note. They were going to be able to fight off, a little skinny thing, or, somebody did get the jump a surprise on them. Somebody that didn't get them and hold them, in the way that they had some fight in them, is what I'm saying. They didn't have a freaking chance. This was done so quickly. To me, this really sounded like an awful lot like somebody that probably It sounded very aristocratic, narcissistic, psychopathic, privileged to me. Somebody that had the knowledge. You didn't have a lot of poor people that had medical experience. You didn't have a lot of people out there. Hey, old religion. Um, you didn't have a lot of people out there that had the medical experience that maybe had gotten into drugs or something else and gone wackadoodle. Because apparently this person had some skill with a knife, and apparently some speed to it because he could get in and get out quick. You see, so those are all things to consider. That's why I always thought it was more one of these guys, these aristocratic, went a little nuts guys. Thought he could get away with a lot. Knew the tunnel system. Was able to do something like put rubber on his shoes. That's not somebody who's eating a potato every 2 days and scratching out fourpence to go lean on a rope at night is doing. This is somebody who's got some means. He didn't get away in a carriage. Um, you know what I mean? It's like you think about all those things like that, and to me, that starts peeling away the possibilities of it being somebody poor and just out there taking another chance to do something like this. These people were trying to survive the day, you know. Um, so I think it's more of a power, joy, psychopathic, women hating thing going on. Some kind of sick uh, person like that had some skill, maybe went to some medical school, butcher, something of means, you know. Uh,
Can I
that's
offer
what I'm saying.
a
Sure,
theory or an alternative, maybe hypothesis? What if it's more than one person?
could be. We don't know. I
What if
mean,
it's a
that's
group of people?
you know, yeah, about the rubber. And it wasn't rubber. It was they had the way it was described was they had rubber put on the soles. That wasn't something that was common then. That was all hard leather, hard shoe leather. It made sounds on the cobblestones. So, yeah, that's where sneakers comes from. Sneakers. Yeah, strange, right? The way things come up. But there you go. So, are you guys ready for some Leonard? We'll watch a little
I'm
Leonard, and
I'm
the
down.
kittens
I'm
have
ready to
gone
watch
off.
this. I haven't seen this yet, so I'm kind of
I
excited
haven't
now.
seen it all
Yeah.
either. I've seen parts of it, but we can stop at halfway and talk about what we've seen, and then come on back and finish the rest. It's 20 minutes. We'll do 10. Come back and we'll talk about it and see what you guys think. Because my whole point of this is since 1974, I really don't think we've come up with anything different. I think the evidence we had then is pretty much the evidence we have now. You can throw a lot of science at this, but like Blue says, DNA, it degrades over time. The more people that you have touched something, the more it's compromised. It's very similar to all these other cases we've looked into, even the Jeffrey McDonald. It's what the evidence was said to be at the time. There was evidence destroyed, such as the writing on that one wall that the next day the guy took it off because he didn't want it to cause some kind of a racial thing in the town. Was it part of the evidence? Was it a message from Jack the Ripper? Was it not? These things were all compromised along the way. People walking in and coming out, and. But what we do know is these 5 women were killed over several months. There was taunting going on via the mail, via the papers, the talk on the streets between the cops and the killers. Anytime you have something like that, whether it's Son of Sam in New York in the 70s, or the Hillside Stranglers in the late 70s, whatever you want to say, you have public fear. When you have public fear, you have pressure on the departments that are supposed to quell that fear, and you have that whole back and forth going on. You're not protecting us. You're not
Oh,
catching them fast enough.
people in the Whitechapel went full vigilante because they were like,
Yep.
we can't trust the police to handle this. We're going to handle this ourselves. You know.
People were being accused. People were being thrown under the bus. This one guy, leather apron, who carried knives. I believe he was a butcher. I'm not 100% sure. I am no expert on this case whatsoever. And I fully admit that. But I do know that this one guy was pulled in, and they said it was him, said it was leather apron, but it wasn't. So you've got that too. You've got the vigilante groups. You've got the cops trying to get, somebody's got to pay for this. Somebody's got to go down. You've got innocent people being drug into this mess. And meanwhile, again, why I think it's somebody with a little bit more money and a little bit more coverage, a little bit more help, in the area of being able to cover up some of these crimes. I do believe it had something to do with, let's just say, aristocratic help. I don't know how high up in the royal family this was, even some crazy cousin they tried to keep in the basement and found a way out. I don't know. You know, even fingerprinting was not utilized until the 1880s, and no databases were kept. That's true. That's true. And something else that really comes up with that, Blue, is something I'm working on now, and I've talked to Donnie a little bit about it, is Bonnie and Clyde. The more I dig into that case, I wanted to do it today, and then I said, no, this deserves more time because I'm finding out more and more stuff there. And I thought it was really interesting to bring that forward. And another one we don't hear a lot about, Ma Barker and the boys. So I thought we would talk about that coming up in another episode. Donnie and I are going to work on that, and those we will dig in a little bit deeper. But tonight I thought it was interesting to see how much actual hard evidence do we have that is more telling than what they had in 74. I watched a panel today, and it had John Douglas, who was one of the best profilers in the FBI ever had. I read several of his books. I think he's a wonderful profiler, and a lot of that CSI, the new show CSI, is based on people like John Douglas who do this kind of thing, this whole CSI profiler stuff, trying to catch serial killers. He was on the panel. So many other people on the panel. You've got all these experts. They can't tell you who did it. They might have a theory where they're leaning more toward this one or the other one, and then another piece of evidence that comes up that changes that. So it's one of those cases I don't think we're ever going to know. But there's been some interesting things based on it. There was a very interesting, if I can find it, I'll play it for you guys in a future episode. But you guys awake now, aren't you? On another episode, it's a mystery, CBS mystery, that was based on, now catch this premise, it was based on very much like the movie Fallen we talk about with Denzel Washington, where the demon jumps from one to another host just by touching, just two people touching, into animals and everything else. Well, in this CBS mystery, it's based on Jack the Ripper is still alive because he's found a way to jump into bodies and possess the next person. So when they catch him, he does a bunch of stuff. He gets caught. He goes into jail. He picks the one that he wants to jump into, that he has the ability to jump into that person because they have those cracks in their windshield. They have those ways in, and he can test them, and he knows how to do it. And he taunts the person beforehand, and it's part of his thing. It's a really good episode. It's really pretty creepy. So if I can find that for you, I will. That Jack the Ripper can actually jump and is still alive and active. And I can't tell you that kind of stuff doesn't happen, because I've seen too much to tell you that it can't. Because I think that kind of stuff happens more than we like to think it does. All right, Donnie, anything to say before we get Leonard on deck here?
No, I'll save it till afterwards. I still have some stuff about like the story that, yeah, there's a lot of fascinating angles.
Well, this might trigger something too. Yeah. We'll come back after 10 minutes. Yeah. All right, here we go, guys. Love you guys. Yeah. Thanks for coming in tonight. Wayback TV.
During the autumn of 1888, there occurred one of the most baffling crimes in the files of Scotland Yard. In the Whitechapel area of London's East End, women walked in fear of their lives. A wave of terror had been caused by an elusive murderer known as Jack the Ripper. Luckily, Jack the Ripper always did his work near potential witnesses, and even the police themselves. Why was he so bold? New evidence now indicates that his true identity became known to the authorities, but strangely, was to be kept a secret.
This series presents information based in part on theory and conjecture. The producer's purpose is to suggest some possible explanations, but not necessarily the only ones, to the mysteries we will examine.
London, the center of the Victorian Empire, on whose colonies the sun never set. The home of kings and queens, of magnificent monuments that only 1,000 years of royalty could build. But it was also a city of cruel paradoxes. No one knows how many vagrants wandered the East End streets, attempting to eke out an existence. Jack London called them the people of the abyss. Poor, miserable human beings clinging to the garbage heap of life. Against this backdrop would be played one of the most provocative unsolved crimes of the 19th century. Investigations continue to this day, with growing evidence that while Jack the Ripper's victims were from England's lowest class, his deeds directly affected many of the most powerful people in the land. On the night of August 31st, 1888, Mary Ann Nichols, a woman separated from her husband, found herself once again in the wretched East End. She had no money to secure a bed at a common lodging house where she had previously stayed. She pleaded, begging for a free bed. Realizing the hopelessness of her cause, Mary Nichols decided that she would sell her precious bonnet for the entrance fee. Less than 1.5 hours later, she became the first victim of Jack the Ripper. Wendy Sturgis, a BBC reporter, researched the murders.
The overcrowding that happened was rife. People didn't normally live in a house. They had a room in a house, and possibly 5 or 6 people in their family lived in that room. There were times when people didn't earn any money whatsoever. So they would live in what were called doss houses or common lodging houses, which costed a lot of money. And there, people were drunk and didn't have any food. They drank gin. Gin cost a considerably little amount of money for a colossal amount of gin. With the overcrowding and with the drunkenness, there was no privacy. Once you're drunk, you lose all sense of yourself and your own character. You lose your pride, basically.
Donald Rumbelow is a member of London's Metropolitan Police Force.
The East End at nightly had something like about 7,000 of these women either walking the streets or trying to get into the common lodging houses or doss houses. Even 20 years later, when Jack London came to London, he found that women like this could be bought for a loaf of stale bread or for a penny or 2pence at the most. They were living below the starvation level. And so if somebody offered them as little as 6pence or a shilling, or even 4pence, which was the price for a bed for the night, they would have gone with him.
The deaths of wayward women provided headline fare for London's tabloids. The question that most fascinated the public: how did the killer commit his crimes so easily?
Once the Ripper had got them to a quiet place, then it would have been quite an easy matter for him to have strangled them very quickly into unconsciousness. Almost certainly he would not have used the knife straight away. The women died from the effects of a cut throat, but there was bruising and there were other marks to show that they were probably stunned into unconsciousness, strangled or partly strangled, and then when they were lying on the ground, only then was the knife used.
The press claimed that the killer threatened all of London. In fact, he prowled only within a 1.5 square mile area. 8 days after killing Mary Nichols, he began stalking again. Less than 10 minutes walk from the first murder site, Annie Chapman would become his second victim. Somehow, the psychopathic needs of the killer were not being satisfied. He then etched himself in history by being the first murderer to send crazed, rambling notes to the press, taunting the police, chiding them, daring them to capture him.
Dear boss, I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. I have laughed when they look so clever and talk about being on the right track. That joke about leather apron gave me real fits. My knife is so nice and sharp. I want to get to work right away if I get a chance. Keep this letter till I do a bit more work. Then give it out straight.
Providing police with clues to his real identity became a game. He began giving all too accurate predictions of his next plans, and finally, he invented a name for himself: Jack the Ripper. In the darkened alleys of the East End, Catherine Eddowes made her way home alone. She was not particularly afraid now. Nothing had been heard from the killer in over 3 weeks. There was no way she could know that on this night, Elizabeth Stride had already been murdered. But apparently, because the killer was dissatisfied by some aspect of the act, he needed to murder again. Another example of the way his disturbed mind was working. He began arranging the few meager possessions of his victims in weird patterns at their feet. Was he, in some way, attempting to hint at his real identity? Stephen Knight authored a book on the historic murders.
The greatest clue of all was the only clue to be left by Jack the Ripper, and this was a message chalked on a wall near the fourth murder, that of Catherine Eddowes.
The hastily chalked message was cryptic and mysterious. Some believed it referred to a secret brotherhood called the Freemasons.
It had a very weird effect in that the Chief Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police, Sir Charles Warren, as soon as he heard about the message, rushed to the East End and personally washed it off. This was incredible behavior. It was the only clue left by the Ripper, and he obliterated it. He never explained why.
Sir Charles Warren was one of the most influential Freemasons in England. Was there some Masonic clue in the message that motivated Sir Charles, who was also the police commissioner, to erase it? Did his own Masonic membership force him to do this? Was it evidence of some sort of cover-up?
Every profession in this country has members who belong to the Masonic order. It's very much connected with royalty. They are a secret order, not very much of them is known. You only know if you talk to any ex-Mason. Because of its secrecy, it's a sworn, closed brotherhood that help each other in their own careers. At the same time, they help each other keep secrets in and out of their careers. And if you have a secret that you wish to be kept, it could not be in safer hands. They are sworn more to each other than they are to their wives and their families.
Freemasonry began in the Middle Ages with the establishment of construction guilds. The builders of some of Europe's most magnificent cathedrals, they surrounded themselves in an aura of mystery and religious symbolism, soon attracting followers from other arenas. Frederick the Great, King of Prussia, was a Freemason. Likewise, the first President of the United States, George Washington. Even the dollar bill with its Masonic all-seeing eye of God, reflected how deeply the Masons had penetrated all levels of society. But the Honorable Earl of Carnarvon, Grand Master of the United Grand Lodge of England at the time of Jack the Ripper, was perhaps the most powerful Mason of all. Only he and a few other highly ranked Freemasons knew the true power of the secret organization.
The basic tenet of Freemasonry is secrecy, and to protect this, Freemasons say in their ritual that they will go to any lengths. Nobody is really expected to take this seriously. It is basically pantomime. For instance, in the first degree of Freemasonry, that of the entered apprentice, an initiate swears to have his throat cut from left to right if he betrays Masonic secrets. He also agrees to cut the throat of a fellow Mason from left to right if he betrays Masonic secrets. This is meant to be purely ritual and pantomime, but in the case of Jack the Ripper, a leading Freemason took the various brutal oaths of Masonry absolutely literally and carried them out.
Was Jack the Ripper a high-ranking Freemason? To find the answer, In Search Of cameras would have to explore the world of English royalty. The Whitechapel of today has changed in many ways since Jack the Ripper's murder spree in the fall of 1888. Street names have been altered, many of the old buildings demolished, and most of the murder sites have disappeared. The interest and fascination with Jack the Ripper lives on, however, despite the absence of most of the physical evidence, including files that were supposedly tucked safely away in the secure vaults of Scotland Yard. Dr. J.M. Cameron, chief pathologist of the Home Office, has dealt with the problem of these sketchy files while pursuing his own personal investigation.
I feel that any police officer nowadays would be disgusted with any of his juniors or the pathologist if they were to submit reports, as we are led to believe were submitted in the Jack the Ripper cases. There have been many views and passed as to who it could have been, whether he was a medical man or had medical knowledge, or whether they had any knowledge as to, say, a butcher or a fishmonger. There is no evidence in any of the photographs that I've seen of the victims which would lead me to believe that he was a doctor, because if he was, or if he were to be, he should have been struck off the medical register because of his technique. On reviewing all the cases, it is obvious that the majority of the assaults took place from behind. None were heard to scream other than one. This assault from behind is not uncommon even today, particularly by an impotent male using the knife as a phallic symbol.
Despite all of the theories filling the tabloids, the public was in no way prepared for the description of the killer's last murder. Marie Jeanette Kelly was killed inside her living quarters, and it was obvious to the police who found the body that the barbarity of this particularly vicious act far exceeded anything that Jack the Ripper had previously exhibited. How could the murders have been committed within potential view and earshot of so many people? What made it possible for the killer to escape so easily, especially with the police on alert in Whitechapel?
If it had been a person, a man, for instance, or a woman from that part of London, a working class person who lived in those overcrowded conditions, there's really little chance that he would have got away with it. A man roaming the streets covered in blood, going into a common lodging house, would have been seen by his fellow people. He would have been spotted by his own kind. If you think of it as being a middle-class person, then essentially you're up against the same problems, because the middle-class person would either have come from Whitechapel or the environs, or have come outside Whitechapel and would needed transport. They would have had to hire a hackney carriage, and a hackney carriage would have had a driver who would have seen a man covered in blood running away from the East End in a hurry. So we felt it was more than likely to be a moneyed person, an aristocrat, fairly high up in some sort of government, who had this ability to remain anonymous, this ability to run away in a hurry.
Nevertheless, Scotland Yard thought John Pizer, an obscure little man commonly called Leather Apron, was a possible suspect. Also on their list, Dr. Neil Cream and George Chapman, both professional murderers at large with a history of wife-killing. Also, Montague Druitt, a ne'er-do-well lawyer and teacher, supposedly going insane, who came from a long line of medical doctors. And finally, the unstable Duke of Clarence, second in line to the throne, who was studying art in Whitechapel at the time of the crimes. Some theorize today that for the murderer to repeatedly escape, there probably was a conspiracy involving Buckingham Palace. Queen Victoria, the matriarch, the power of England, now sat on an uncertain throne, her monarchy shaken by disloyal colonies and scandals from within. Her eldest son, first in line to the throne, who would later become King Edward VII, had embarrassed the Queen with his less than discreet private life. And his son, the Duke of Clarence, was rumored to be going slowly insane as a result of syphilis, contracted when he was 16. Some thought one more family scandal would be the last necessary ingredient to bring down the entire empire. Further evidence supporting the royal family involvement. Sir William Gull, the personal physician to the Duke of Clarence, was seen rushing along the Whitechapel streets on nights that many of the murders occurred. Why was the good doctor in the rough East End late at night? The police questioned nearly everyone, but they were actually searching the area for a well-spoken man of medium build, fair complexion, between 20 and 40. Interestingly enough, the Duke matched that description nearly perfectly. Was it possible that a man second in line to the throne of England could have been one of the most brutal murderers in history? Reports indicated that Jack the Ripper invariably wore a deerstalker cap and cape on the nights he encountered and later murdered his victims. Attire easily obtainable by the Duke, since he was a proficient hunter on his father's reserves. Of all the suspects, he was the only Freemason. But the most potent evidence against the Duke did not come to light until nearly a century after the 5 killings. Sir William Gull, the royal physician to the Duke, maintained a detailed medical history and a diary of his patient's entire life. In 1970, the information they contained found its way to the eminent British physician and ranking Freemason, Dr. Thomas Stowell. Although bound by an oath of secrecy, Dr. Stowell charged in a magazine called The Criminologist and during a BBC interview that the Duke of Clarence was indeed Jack the Ripper. Strangely enough, 7 days later he recanted in the London Times, and within a week, he was dead. 2 days later, his son reported that the family had burned all the doctor's files in the Jack the Ripper case. The only real evidence that linked the Duke of Clarence to the crimes had been destroyed. The Duke of Clarence died 4 years after the Whitechapel murders. These years spent in medical confinement. No public reason for his death was ever given. Today, Englishmen and foreigners alike might find it difficult to believe that the identity of Jack the Ripper was known and covered up for political reasons. Nevertheless, recent evidence suggests this theory of government conspiracy is not beyond the realm of possibility. Jack the Ripper was the first mass murderer to receive international press coverage. Such publicity undoubtedly stimulated his psychopathic needs. Since that time, other violent criminals have been inspired by his ability to capture the attention of the press. Unfortunately, this is the most profound part of the legacy left by Jack the Ripper.
There you go, Donnie. Almost word
There
for
you
word
go.
what he said at the very end. I didn't know that they said that, but as soon as he said, I said that's what Mr. Cho said not very long ago. How about that?
Yeah.
As old as I watched this when I was young. Sarah, welcome in, and yes, same here, honey, because I remember seeing this on the TV, probably in front of the cross-legged on the floor in front of the big Zenith, and Mom was telling me, "Move back away from the TV, you're going to ruin your eyes." But that's probably when I first watched it too, so I feel old with you. But fantastic. He said it. It was the first one to come out in the papers and it get public attention, and it was the first viral.
It's the first true crime story.
Yeah, I mean, even H.H. Holmes, it was happening around the same time, not exact dates, but close. In Chicago, was getting plenty of press, but again, it seems like it's two different times because of the way we visualize both things. But the trippiest thing for me was, and I've said it before on the show, I'll say it again just to give you the idea of what I'm feeling when I think about that H.H. Holmes at the Chicago Fair and Jack the Ripper was almost simultaneous, and it seems like it's in different periods. It's so weird. I was watching The Gilded Age, which was, I think, 1893 ish, the series, and that was New York. And I don't know if you know anything about it, but it was just, opulence and just excessive, and you would talk extra. This was extra. It was all the money coming in from the railroads and the bankers, and people were, building down New York and having these lavish parties. This is where the Vanderbilts, became famous, and people of this ilk, the Astors and the, all of these names that you hear in industrial, quick millionaire America. And at the same time, I had just gotten done watching a series with Sam Elliott and I believe the young country couple, Faith, what's her face, and what's her husband's name? Oh, geez, it's right there. Live Like You Were Dying. Help me, chat. Oh, what's his name? Not Garth. What the hell? Shoot, he's a cowboy dude. Anyway, they're in the series with Sam Elliott. It's actually very well done. If you like Yellowstone, it's a spin-off. The guy who wrote Yellowstone actually wrote 1893 as well. The amazing thing about this is they happen at the same time. Tim McGraw, thank you so much. Thank you, and thank you, AJK. Thank you. Yep. Tim McGraw, and some have his face. Was he in a boxing accident or car? I don't want to say anything. I mean, you think a car accident, but Mickey Rourke. All I have to do is say Mickey Rourke. When he went in there and he beat that guy up with his face, and he had to get all this plastic surgery, and now he doesn't look like Mickey Rourke anymore. You've got to know this, Donnie. You're into wrestling and boxing and all this.
Yeah.
Did you not see the change between, you know,
Oh, Mickey
eight and a
Rourke's
half
plastic
weeks,
surgery? Yeah, yeah. He looks way
eight
different
and a half
now.
weeks and Mickey Rourke now?
I just did a Facebook post
No
about
sane
that.
person can look at those two faces and not say something happened in the middle of those two, you know. And something is going on with Tim McGraw. Yeah, he is. He is. His dad was Tug McGraw, absolutely, AJK. But what I'm most interested in is what's going on with his nose. Did he like get into a? Is there a famous story? Yeah, he looks terrible, and he filmed a thing called, I think, The Wrestler
Yeah,
out
that was
here in Asbury.
yeah.
Sad as
I saw
shit.
that
You
movie.
ever don't watch this movie. This movie is the saddest shit you've ever seen. Mickey Rourke did it, and they shot it right out here on the boardwalk in Asbury Park. And they did it in the winter time, which is the saddest time to ever walk on the boardwalk in New Jersey. The ocean, it's cold, and there's snow, and it's dirty snow, and the ocean gets real dark green because it's so cold and gray green. It's just horrible. Yeah. It's like the worst time. And Mickey Rourke walking down with his hands in his pockets, his head's down, and all his hair's hanging down. He's defeated and beaten, and he's walking down this sad ass cold boardwalk. That's a trip. But anyway, something happened to his face, and something happened to Tim McGraw's face. But the amazing thing is I'm watching Tim McGraw and his lovely wife, Faith, what's her face, and Sam Elliott in 1893 in the West, living like they were living on the prairie and hacking it out of the wilderness. And at the same time, these people in New York, the Vanderbilts and the Astors and all these other people are living high on the hog, you know, and everything is painted in gold and big, plumy hats and the whole uppity thing and being on the list of 100. And if you weren't, you didn't get to the parties and all this other shit. And everybody stabbing everybody in the back, that kind of shit, all at the same time. That is amazing to me, that culture. And what would you call it, Donnie? A grouping of, because you had that. You had like Manhattan, New York City, they were one way. Paris, they were another. And all these different things going on at the same time. But 1883, thank you, Uncommon. I'm sure I've gotten the date wrong several times. But you get my point, though. At the same time, these different cultures, different pockets of people are so vastly different than just somebody 100 miles in this direction. It's amazing to me. And that's what I get when I think about Jack the Ripper and H.H. Holmes, because when you look at that, for some reason you would think the Jack the Ripper thing happened maybe 50 years to 100 years before that, because of the scenery and the visuals that we get with it, and the things that were going on in Whitechapel, and we saw a little bit of it there. That was actually a really short, I thought, In Search of, but that was the whole thing. Is basically what they put on. But I don't know, AJK. From what I heard, from what I understand about Mickey Rourke. Now I like Mickey Rourke. I'll tell you what, in Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man, and some other things that Mickey has done, he does a good job. He's a stand-up dude, but he makes some bad choices. And from what I heard, he decided he challenges what he's all about: loyalty and honor and all that stuff. So somehow he picked a fight, or got in a fight, or challenged to a duel, or challenged somebody to some kind of shit, and went up boxing this guy that he had no business boxing. Was all in, because Mickey's all in. Anything he does, you can just see him for 5 minutes and know that Mickey's an all in kind of guy. And apparently he beat the shit out of this guy with his face, and he got tore up. And then he had some bad plastic surgery to fix that, from what I heard. And that's loosely the story, AJK. Don't quote me on that, but that's just my understanding at this point, which isn't much.
Well, he actually tried to become an amateur boxer. Like, he actually got into
Well, I think he had some
boxing matches.
I think he was a boxer. I could be wrong on that though, because it's a little
No, he
foggy.
was. He was. No, he
I
was.
thought he was.
Yeah.
I thought he was earlier. I mean, he's done some shit, and he's one of these guys. He's a guy's guy. He's like almost a Michael Madsen kind of. You can't really say too many bad things about him. I mean, he's not crazy like a. What's that one dude? Oh shoot, God, I hate names are my worst thing, Donnie. It's just I know it's hell and torture to be on the other side of me trying to remember somebody's name, but crazy, batshit crazy. White hair, a motorcycle accident. He's got a son that's a good actor, but this guy's nuts. I'm trying to think of what he was in. He was in Silver Bullet, Stephen King's Silver Bullet. He played the crazy drunk uncle, and he's nuts. He's been on paranormal shows. Um, oh God, I can't think of anything he was in other than Silver Bullet. If one of the
Gary
mods was like,
Busey.
thank you, Gary Busey. Thank you, Glenn. Batshit crazy, right, Glenn? I'm telling you, something happened to him. But you like him though. You just don't want too much of him. And Jake Busey is his son. Yeah. Oh God, I liked him. He was great. And if you haven't seen this horror movie, oh gosh, Uncommon. What's the name of that movie where the numbers kept cutting into their head like they were being cut with a box cutter by a ghost, but all the number would just appear on their forehead. Jake
Jake Busey was in one of my
Here,
favorite movies of all time, Starship Troopers. That's how I know him from.
I don't recall too much about that. Buddy Holly story. Did Gary did that right? Not Jake. Frighteners. Oh, that was so good, Ian. That's a great. Yes, that is a great flick. And yep, that's the one with the numbers. Yep. And what's her name was being driven crazy, his girlfriend, and he was a ghost, and he came back. It was a serial killer, Donnie, and he was still killing from the other side of the grave. That's what the movie is about. Yeah. Yep. And this one guy can see ghosts, and he's kind of a Charlie Chaplin kind of, not that funny, but one of those guys that he's kind of awkward and he has a lot of bad luck and of course girl trouble, but he sees ghosts and he goes and clears out houses. Most of it's a scam, and he takes these ghosts with him to make it look like the house is haunted. Then he charges the guys to get them out, but he knows the ghosts. He just brings them with him. It's a great gig if you can get it. Isn't that a great premise for the movie? I pretty much have it, right? That's pretty much it. Anybody that's seen that movie, Frighteners, it's really good. And all the ghosts are great characters. And they have different things that they specialize in that they do, and different things that's wrong with them. Like the one old cowboy ghost, he keeps losing his jaw because he's like mostly skeleton. And there's this ghost dog that keeps stealing the jaw and running away with it and stuff. So there's that kind of comedy and humor in it as well. It's funny. Frighteners. I highly suggest it. It was a good. Yep, Michael J. Fox. He played the medium. So what did you want to say about the Ripper? I'm all in for what was his name? Captain Orange, the guy at the end, the Duke of Earl. What was his
Oh
name?
yeah, I don't remember his name, but yeah, the Duke. Yeah.
Jarman.
Yeah, that's my first time hearing about that.
Come on, my UK people, help me out here. I don't do. I'm not. I don't do royalty. I don't like any of them. Soft Riders a long time ago. I know, but you know what? It's good. It's good to dig it up, watch it again. They did a lot of good things in there. They have one of my favorite. It's so hard to put ghosts on film and have it look. I mean, some people have gotten it correct, I think, because there's different ways, different things. Duke of Clarence. I'm all in on Duke of Clarence, Vixen. I don't know where you guys are putting my money's on him. Yeah, that's the one, Duke of Clarence. I'm sorry if the dude is innocent, but he had to have been guilty of something. I saw those eyes and all the other stuff. Plus, he was going crazy, and he got syphilis at a young age. Wonder from who? Was he out there diddling around with some of those prostitutes, and he was getting his revenge, or some other kind of mess? I don't know. Good case can be made for that. And from what I understand, they did stop after he was put away. I think he was put in, I don't know what, Duke of Clarence. I'm getting all this Duke of Clarence.
Yeah, I'm definitely open to that possibility,
Let's
and I
not
thought that
conjure
that
him
was
up.
very that I think that I didn't know about any of that Duke of Clarence stuff.
Yeah.
So
There's
when
a
I
lot of
saw it, I
them.
was like, whoa, maybe yeah, I think that guy did it.
But the thing about this case, Donnie, and maybe you guys would agree as well, that's why I didn't spend a lot of time studying, because you could go in any direction to be in months. This is like a,
Yeah,
a
they had like
labyrinth.
hundreds of suspects.
You could get
Yeah,
in a labyrinth of stuff. I mean, that's why I'll lean towards Catherine Ramsland. I mean, she's writing for Psychology Today. You know, her blog is, bar none, and multiple books, multiple seminars, multiple, you name it. She's involved in all of it, and she's done very well at all of it. And her, I don't want to put words in her mouth, but yeah, From Hell was a decent film. Again, which one's true? Everything, you get a little piece. I mean, they had this whole Mary Kelly thing, and they've got the whole story about this other one was supposed to got one of the prostitutes pregnant. I mean, like Donnie and I were saying, and Donnie mentioned a couple of things in the beginning. This was hell. This was hell. This Human beings lived like this. Human beings are probably living like this now. Closer than you think. You know, yeah, Patricia Cornwell, and put her good money into it, Anne, to write that book. Very well done book. All of her stuff is well done, well thought out, highly researched. But again, you're basing stuff on DNA, and I'm no expert, but let's ask Blue. As far as DNA, in order for DNA to work, the theory of DNA is you must get a sample from something that is not compromised. You must get the DNA. Usually they follow the mother's bloodline, and they go that route. So they can do it if they get hair from a brush, or blood, or bone marrow, whatever it may be, a tooth, you know, uh, something along those lines. They match it up. In the case of Jack the Ripper, there's nothing to match it to. There's nothing on the bodies. There's no fingerprints. The room that Mary Kelly was killed in, she was basically filleted. He got to spend time with her. I mean, this was a crescendo for him. And the night that he did the two, or he got stopped early and went and picked up another one. I believe, for people who know more about this case than I do, am I correct on that? There was one that had two in one night, or possible two. There was some conflict back and forth with that one, I believe. But I'm close, right? So again, we're never going to know. My money's on this Clarence dude. Always has been. Just something about the story rings true with me. But again, I don't know. The licked envelope had DNA. Absolutely, Sarah, without a doubt. And you could have got, now, again, I'm no expert, honey, but it's my understanding that I can get a perfectly wonderful sample of DNA from an old envelope, okay, depending on the glue and, everything else that's involved and how much it was handled. Get a sample from that. Now, what am I matching up that DNA to? There's no other thing. There's no Jack the Ripper's sister that we can exhume the body and match that, because we don't know who Jack the Ripper was. There's nothing on the bodies that was his semen, say. He wasn't into that. That's not what he was doing. He got his stuff power in some other wild sadistic reason that the best psychologists in known to man for decades have looked into this case and can't figure out what the hell was going on in there. Obviously a hatred for women, obviously a medical background of some kind, at the very least a butcher, because of the accuracy and the speed of the cuts and the dissection there in the middle of every God and everybody, without making a sound in split second timing, and then to get away. So it would have to be somebody that had some kind of help, covering of some sort, you know, cover his whereabouts, an alibi, some sort of help, and some knowledge of the streets and the timing of the what do they call them out there at that time? Were they called bobbies? Were they still called bobbies? Were they called the? Because it was Scotland Yard, and then they have another set. You know, I think Scotland Yard is very much like our state, police versus our county. And I don't know if that's true. Is Scotland Yard have more jurisdiction than, like, say, your county and your and things like that, or they have like this a wider coverage? Bobbies and coppers, yeah. Now, copper sapphire, from what I understand, came from the badges that they used to get early back in the day, way back in the times of the gangs of New York time. Okay, and at the same time in England, they were using copper for the badges, and that's why they were called coppers. That's where that started. What is this? The beginning of Scotland Yard, Bobbies, Bow Street Runners. I love that. Peelers and coppers. Yep, Bobbies and coppers. Yep. Who was saying bobbers? Isn't bobbers boppers? What were we calling earphones? Ear bobbers. Bobbers, right? In a
I don't
chat
remember
a
that.
couple weeks
Yeah.
ago, somebody called them ear bobbers, I think. Bobbers, beat with bees. Jackbooted thugs nowadays. Yep. 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 So does Scotland Yard have a pretty wide jurisdiction? Is it like, say, like the FBI? I mean, I realize that's not the same level, not the same meaning even, but the FBI, it's wild how they started out. The whole thing was put out because they had no connection between the states. So once police got across, hit that state line, they were done. And then they had no communication with the next state. So people could just get away this way. I mean, you have to think back. I'm sure it was the same way in London. Was Bobby about the hats? I don't know. Could have been, Sarah. Good guess. Good. Ear bobbers. There you go. I thought it was bees. Yeah. It wasn't boppers. I thought it was bobbers. Had more bees. Sid Cisco detectives. CID Cisco. Okay. Okay. CID. Okay. Got it. Got it. Got it. All right. That makes more sense. But what is their jurisdiction? I mean, Accident Investigative Bureau. Okay. Would have authority. Okay. So it would be like that. But there's all these sticky little laws as far as, like, your FBI can't reach over here. Okay. Look. You think you understand the FBI can go across? Used to be that, they wouldn't get involved in kidnapping case unless across state lines. Wouldn't get involved in stealing cars or horses, for that matter, unless you went straight state lines and different things like that. Now you got the added caveat that they won't go on certain places like Indian reservations, which is why there's so much problem with Native Americans going missing and nothing being done about it because they don't have the manpower. And the thing is if it's somebody that lives off of reservation out where the federal can touch, and they went in and did something in the reservation and then back out again, now you got to go through both courts and fill all of the criteria in both sides, and it's like spinning friggin' plates. So you've also got that kind of caveat on stuff like that. So it's hard to understand back then who had jurisdiction. I would guess Scotland Yard they stepped forward on this one, but I think it was a lot of things. It's like anything else. These people get away with stuff. They've had help with something. Either it's help in the police department, help with, the back end of that. It could be a clerk pushing things through. So the City of London, so-called. Okay, Metropolitan Police covers London, but the City of London Police cover the financial. Okay, that makes sense. Yep. So, again, that's it. Night, sweetie. Good night, Salvador. Sleep well. Be safe. Till we meet again. Till we meet again. What was that song? Carol Burnett used to sing a good song when she shut her thing down. She used to pull on her ear. You ever heard of Carol Burnett, Donnie? She did a variety show.
Maybe seen her once or twice on TV. Was a little good.
All right. So she had this very good variety show back when they were famous, and they were on they were all the shit back in the day. So she had this variety show, very well done. It had some big names on there: Tim Conway, Harvey Korman, I think it was, and somebody else. So anyway, and she would have guests, and they actually had so much talent and so much good script writing and everything else, and good characters that came out of it. But at the end of her show, every night she would sing a song to say goodnight to everybody. She'd come out on stage in her gown, and she'd tug on one ear. And that was her hello to her family back home. They didn't want her to say goodnight, mom, goodnight, dad, or, sister, or whatever. And she started that was a secret code to say that she loved her family and, hello to them without using their names. And it became a habit. She did it after every show. And at the end of, towards the end of her life, she finally measured the earlobe and found out how much longer that one was from pulling on it all her life. And she thought that was the biggest joke of all. It was kind of funny. But I guess you got to be careful on how you say goodbye if you're going to stick around on your show. So you had to pick careful what your out's going to be. He's poof. Salvador's going poof. So welcome in everybody that was in tonight that just popped in. This is kind of the casual show. We didn't do a lot of deep diving. It was more of an opinion show and a couple of theories, because in my opinion, and this again is just my opinion, I don't think we have much more than they had in 1974 when Leonard sat down in all of his turtleneck glory and told us that there's multiple suspects. This is the evidence we have now in 1974. Okay. It is 2022. And I don't know of any, do you, Donnie, of people that have dug up new stuff that, Leonard told us all of the evidence on, what was Captain Charlie, whatever his name is, Duke Earl, Clemens. I thought I had it.
Duke of Clarence.
Thank you. So they burned all that. They Epstein didn't kill himself. You know what I'm saying? They burnt, the cameras were off. The guards were asleep, and they burnt the evidence. So nobody's guilty here. Guy was batshit crazy, admitted, died inside of one of those padded golf clubs they got out there. They play golf and tennis and racquetball and yeah. So and all the stuff was burned. Good night, Mrs. Calabash, wherever you are. Jimmy Durante. Boom! Got it. How can I remember Jimmy Durante and I can't remember Duke of Clarence there? Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. If it was evidence worth burning, if it was nothing, why'd they burn it? There's a lot of, that's where I'm leaning. It's usually Royals in somewhere. I'm with Blue that if it was, they probably would have had a patsy, but they did try to have a couple patsies in there. I don't know, but I'm not buying this H.H. Holmes thing. And again, that's just my opinion. And I did research it as much as the sane can do without starting to take a hard left. Hey, Bobby, welcome. Hey, darling.
Hello.
Hey, they were called Bobbies. That's funny. Yeah, Bobbies. I think so too. I think there's a lot of names. I think people get insulted by certain ones. Like I still call them cops.
And I don't think H.H. Holmes was Jack the Ripper either.
I don't either. Did you see the TED Talks? Did you see the man, the Mudgett, who's like the great grandson of H.H. Holmes? First of all, I also heard, just as a side of fries here, that one of the royals again, why does he keep, why do lead to, the queen's bloomers? Is all I'm saying. Something's up. Something's up. That bloodline has got some, uh, you know, something going on. I mean, they got naked kids crawling out of windows, and the tunnels, and I mean, something going on. That's all I'm saying. And here we
There's
go
some
again.
shadiness about.
What one of the kids, Diana's kids, Harry, or what's the other one's name?
Prince William?
I don't know. Harry and William, right?
Yep.
Okay. One of them married the lovely girl with the black hair, the most
Meghan Merkel?
recent one. Yeah, she's related to H.H. Holmes too. And this guy calls her out, and he's related to her. So if he's related to H.H. Holmes, and they put her all over the place saying that she's related to this serial killer. And I'm thinking, I think if you dug through anybody's family, you're going to find something. I mean, I was, I think some of these people that were like part of a family and didn't know that dad was out, when he was selling Bibles on the road, he was also killing people in different towns, throughout the country, and of course I made that up, but I bet you there's a story like that, because there used to be people that salesmen that drove around with their stuff and sold stuff out of their cars to, we've all seen the movies and the shows, the salesman that sold vacuum cleaners or Bibles, no joke, or encyclopedias, or they actually carried around this stuff and sampled it out door to door. And can you imagine doing that now? I mean, that's almost hard to fathom, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just to even think about doing that again. Fuller Brush Man was another one. Yeah, lizards, right, Dad? Royals are inbred. Inbred. Oh my God, it's. I think it's worse than that, Nixon. I really do. Wow. Yeah. I mean, again, so many connections, but I'm all in on the Duke. Do you have a particular favorite? Do you think that might be guilty? You said that you don't think H.H. Holmes is part of it, and I agree, only because I did a lot of digging on the cases he was involved in court at the time, and I'm like, there's too much more evidence that says he wasn't. So I don't know. Let somebody know something I
It
don't.
didn't really fit his MO
possible.
or his motivations or his targets.
Totally different. And I'm not saying somebody can't change. It's not. It usually progresses. It doesn't just completely, 180. It's not even a 180. It's like a, it's a hard left with a curveball at the end of it. It doesn't
No,
make
I don't
sense.
think it was
Jeffrey
H.H.
McDonald. It could have been Glenn. I don't know where he was at that time. We'll have to check into that.
I don't know. I kind of like the theory of it being a group of people, or like, yeah, not just one person acting alone.
I don't know. I don't have any opinion on that one whatsoever. I just think that it's got the I don't know how to describe this. It's got the stink of the aristocratic on it to me. It just seems to be somebody extremely privileged, and I don't mean the way they're throwing that shit around now. I'm talking about the genuine definition of the word, where they're used to getting away with what they want without anybody's buy or leave, and to have the shit covered up for, because these people did stuff all the time and people would cover it up. It's happening now. They had kleptos and they'd cover up and pay the bill, or people that would go in and just shoplift shit. Look, Mary, what's her face, Lincoln's wife. She would pretty much do that. She wasn't a klepto, but I think somebody's wife wasn't somebody a president's wife was a klepto. I mean, a big one, like stole a lot
I've
of
heard
stuff
that,
and
but
got it
I
covered
don't
up.
remember which president it was.
Might have
I think
been.
I might have heard a story like that.
I don't think it was Dolly Madison, and she didn't make cupcakes either. She just liked to throw parties, and she was very into desserts. Now, Donnie, I don't know
Hmm.
if you know this, but if you get this one, my friend, this is out of left field, has nothing to do. I don't know what Jack the Ripper. We don't know who he was. We don't know what his favorite ice cream was. But I'm going to tell you a little history, some little untold American history here. So get your pencils and papers out. Get your slates and your crayons and your Sharpies out, because this one you're going to want to know and ask your friends and family later. Maybe around the Thanksgiving table. I hope you all will gather with whatever you gather with and enjoy yourselves and celebrate, and don't let the bastards get you down. Keep the lights on. Okay, that's why I got all the cute little Snoopies in the beginning, and we're going to progressively get closer to it, because I think whatever you have to make it this year to be thankful for, you better dig down the bottom of your purse and you find something to be grateful for, and you just hang on to that. You see what I'm saying? And then eventually add things to it. And then you'll have a whole bag full of things to be thankful for.
Hmm.
So there you go. What were we talking about, Dolly? Oh, the big thing. So Dolly Madison. Okay. She was a real socialite. She liked to go big and go bold. She was very much around this time I was talking about, like the Vanderbilts and the Astors and the Titanic and the rich and affluent, the money and um the extra. What's the word I'm looking for, guys? To just, they just overdid everything. I mean, it was
Opulence.
gold. Yes, there it is. There it is. Good one.
Hmm.
Ding ding ding. That's a good one. I mean, it was actual real gold in the wallpaper. And they'd stand around and talk about it. And, one added outdo the other, outdo the other, outdo the other. And that's what that whole thing was about. But Dolly was very much like this at the White House. And she liked to throw parties, whereas her husband was kind of more shy and more, demure and business-like, and kind of shied away from these parties. She couldn't give enough of them, and she did them up big. And her big thing was to have food that was on trend. It's the biggest thing they're doing in Paris, the biggest thing they're doing wherever, else they were getting, influence from. And the new thing in the White House when the Madisons were in was ice cream. And the ice cream flavors that were out then were some that you may think of today, like strawberry, and of course, like fruits that were more like almost like a creamy sorbet at that point in time. But there were other more distinctive flavors that were highly popular, and one of them was Dolly Madison's favorite flavor of ice cream. And who wants to guess it first? It was not pistachio sapphire ale. Donnie, would you like to first guess? Think logically now.
I don't
We're
know.
talking. When was Madison president? Can anybody throw me the dates on that? Can anybody look it up? One of our mods. It was Madison. Off the top of my head, I can't think. Walnuts. I don't know about walnut ice cream. I don't know. This is gonna blow your mind. This is gonna blow your. It blew my mind.
I like walnut ice cream.
Do you have a guess,
Uh,
Mr. Cho?
how about vanilla?
Banana.
That's
Ooh,
my
good
guess.
guess.
Vanilla.
Vanilla. I can see why you would. Let's see. Hang on one second. I'm trying to get some
Vanilla was
dates here
probably
real
like
quick.
revolutionary back then. They're like, oh my god, I never tried this before.
Well, it was a big deal because if she served something, that's all like the bacon. That was good. No.
By the way, I
Um,
prefer vanilla ice cream over chocolate ice cream
Strawberry
personally.
was definitely one of them. Okay, he was the fourth president of the United States, James Madison. 1817. So that was the last year he was in office, 1817. So, like getting into there. So ice cream flavors in the 1800s were. Let me get this. This is crazy. So your guess is actually vanilla.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll tell you what it is. I thought it would be fun to get a couple. Okay, it says around 1800 insulated ice houses invented and all this other stuff. But there's one in here that gives the flavors that they came out with. Dolly Madison's favorite flavor and made it famous, and it went all the way back to Europe. You guys have ever heard 1870? Thank you so much, Uncommon. Whiskey. You know what, Ted? I think that was a flavor. I think there was liquor flavors, but I can't remember what it was. But I'm looking to it. Rose hip, possible, honey. Good. These are great guesses. Oyster ice cream. Go ahead, think about that one for a minute. It's highly popular because of Dolly Madison.
Wait, your sound cut out for a bit. What was the answer?
Oyster.
Oyster. Oh, that's nice. Okay.
Can you imagine? And she made it very, very famous. About that little tidbit, blackberry. Oh gosh, I don't know why that made me cringe. Oyster didn't make me. You know, I don't know, but I'm trying to find that thing that I had all these different flavors. But oyster ice cream, yeah. Now you can look that up. Dolly Madison's favorite flavor. It'll come up. I wouldn't. I don't like oysters. Food
Oyster's
poisoning.
my favorite food.
Oh God, couldn't
Especially
resist.
deep fried Japanese tempura style oyster. Yum yum.
I don't know. I don't do the shellfish. But anyway, very interesting. So we think Clarence did it. H. Holmes didn't do it. And it's amazing how these things can go on at the same time and look like they're from a different era. Escargot ice cream. I don't know. I can't find it. There's a list of ice cream flavors in the 1800s, and some of them made sense. Some of them I was surprised at. That definitely. Can you imagine? You're eating it. It's sandy. It's got the sand in it because of the oysters and stuff. It's in the ice cream. Oh gosh. Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah, I try it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That might be good.
Time's leaving. All right. Oldest flavors of ice cream. Okay, this will be interesting. As far as modern ice cream flavors go, chocolate was likely invented first, according to Sarah Loftman, a food historian. Well, we're sure are banking a lot of what Sarah thinks, aren't we? All right, let me see here. Give me a list. I'm just interested in the list. They're saying chocolate. Oh, China. They're saying China did it first. China did a lot of things first. Tomato ice cream. You know, I think they may have had tomato ice cream. That might have been one of the weird flavors. I don't know. But it was weird how it was some very, very, very strange, stuff that you wouldn't think of. And the fruit stuff didn't seem to go over as big. So maybe it's like now, like the very rich and, people that have more money than sense will, go and spend these lots of money, thousands of dollars on these plates of really weird food and shit just to say they did it. That's what it's about. There'll be these fads that go through, they're eating food with gold in it. They're, it's $10,000 a plate and some shit. It's just another reason it tells you how far, society is creeping up there. It's and how important it is to be an anchor of light and just try to keep those moral compasses steady. You know, you know what I mean? Because it's getting wild, you know. But the pendulum swings. It comes back. Where it stops, nobody knows. Strawberry is my favorite. Pickle, I don't know, but it was so weird. Maybe I'll see if I can find it for tomorrow night. I don't know what we're doing tomorrow night. I hope Steve will be here. Um, he got really crazy over the Halloween. He didn't know which end was up and upside down, and you know, uh, there towards the end of
I
Halloween.
was
So
able to hop on to Steve's show towards the end on Halloween
good.
after we
Oh,
finished.
that's good. But it was crazy, and so I don't know. I hadn't talked to him much. I talked to him a couple days ago. I don't have anything planned for tomorrow. I'm hoping he'll be here. I don't know if I'll be ready to talk about Bonnie and Clyde. I'm hoping for next week on that. I don't know what you guys know about Bonnie and Clyde, but just a little poll here. When do you think that over time, this is 1934 now, okay, now we're back from the 1800s in London and Whitechapel. We're going forward into the dust storm that was 1934 and out there in the plains, man. I mean, those poor people, you want to talk about, when they say dirt poor, they weren't joking. And some people did some things to feed families, and, you know, wasn't a whole lot of choices out there. And I think some people, they just picked the wrong road, and once they got on it, you got to give people credit for finishing it through, Not saying I like what they did or anything else. What I think one of the biggest crimes, of course, the people that were killed. There was many law officers killed, and I have a little theory about that. But and of course, that's awful. But again, it's very much like in Cabin 22. We were talking about the breakdown of the human psyche. What creates a person to take a certain road? Where did that decision happen? Was it one big thing, or was it a lot of little things that kept nudging to that direction until you get so far down that road, you look down and you think, I can't go back. There's no other way to turn. I either got to fight my way forward through this, or, what? Fly? A lot of people have gotten to that point, and I think that, of course, things that happen, big events, wars, of course, and even things like we just went through the past couple of years, changes people's lives so quickly, and they do things that they wouldn't normally do. I think Bonnie and Clyde's one of those. But my question to you guys is, what do you think caused that whole romantic way they were playing this in the papers and the magazines and the newsreels and the information they were putting up? I don't know how much you know about Donnie. Are you going into this one completely blind to the two? You know the name, or do you know a little bit of the story, or
I don't
what
know
with
that
Bonnie and
much. I
Clyde?
just know the general stuff that like most average people would know. But
Okay.
yeah, I haven't started looking into it yet.
Mm.
Not yet. Not yet.
Chocolate almond, and then it was oyster ice cream. And Edna, oyster ice cream is her favorite. Dolly Madison's favorite. She might be like behind on the show a little bit or something too. I found that out a lot of times. Like if you touch it, it'll stop and start again, or whatever. You back out, refresh, you get ahead. And sometimes the comments don't match up to the time, but it was just before, or just after, And then there's a delay, so there's a lot trying to make sense out of things. Banana split ice cream. I want some ice cream now. I want something. I think I got some mango sorbet in there. I'm going to hit down on that. But it's been a pleasure. This was different. It was just to get an idea because, again, I think I kind of
I
proved at
have a
least my.
sudden craving for a Big Mac. I think I'm gonna go get a Big Mac after this.
But I think this was a good thing to go looking at it because, like I said, I think we could have studied all week and brought in experts to have their ideas and their thoughts and their evidence. And again, you go in any direction, but to look at this and to say 1974, I don't think we know too much more than we knew then. There've been a lot of different theories and a lot of different stuff to come up, but we still don't know exactly who did it. My money's on the Duke of Clarence or whatever
Yep.
the hell his name was, old Crazy Eyes. But like Donnie said, who's to say it was one guy?
Well,
I think it was.
the fact that journal got burned, and then the guy who announced it like died like a week after recanting it. I'm like, that looks kind of fishy. That looks a bit fishy. You know?
We're usually a little more structured than this, Sarah. We usually have our shit together. I apologize you coming in and seeing
It's
us
the first
with
show after Halloween. We're still like
got our
hungover.
comfortable
Everybody.
clothes
Yeah.
on. I'm wearing the buffalo. Look, dudes, I'm telling you, 2 weeks ago, I was like, I couldn't imagine. I didn't even decorate my outside my house for Halloween. My heart was just stomped on. You know, the grief, the dark abyss of grief that I pulled myself out of on that one. Whew, that was a rough one. And I wasn't even thinking about Christmas. And then you get some love and you get some little new fur balls running around, some life back in, and some bringing some light. And I'm buying buffalo plaid pants, and thinking about hanging the Christmas tree upside down from the ceiling this year. Just one giant cat toy. Garlic ice cream. AJK, I think there was garlic. Golly. Sign this out, Donnie. I'm going to check one more time for that list.
Oh, yeah. It's fun. Yeah, if you're new to this channel, yeah, Cisco and I will usually
Welcome
do
in.
like a more. Yeah, we didn't have much time to prepare for this one, to be honest.
Yeah,
But
we
yeah,
just
next
kind of
time
threw something in the hat.
we'll come armed and loaded with some good research and some good stories. So
Sometimes we pull like some old TV, and Ted behave. And Ted has been, talk about black ops mods up in here. These guys with their wrenches and their we bake cupcakes around here, Sarah. They're called shut the fuck up cakes. In case we have a troll or something else, we keep our chat comfortable. And they come in here with their porn and their promises.
the promises of free hot girls.
And their promises, their porn and their promises.
I clicked
And
on one of those links. I was like, "Where's my hot girls?" I thought the hot girls
and
were
they're out of
supposed to
here.
come.
They're out of here. Go back to the land of broken dreams and shit. So we have Black Ops mods here. They drop links like crazy. We have our T Public. We have our cute little mascot Crispy. I'm catching Sarah up. Just hang on 1 second. With bacon is love. Pretty much anything like that. Yes, people have the T-shirts. Wonderful. She does have a T-shirt, and so they drop links like crazy. We have lovely guests. We have fun. We're comfortable. We talk about ghosts and things go bump in the night, crazy shit, and conspiracies.
And some
Murder.
history
Thank
stuff.
you so much, Tasha Bell. There's one right there. There's a wonderful mod right there, and we just try to spread love and hope and light in the darkness. We're not afraid to talk about the dark, but we try to bring it back to the light. So everybody leaves like feeling more empowered and reminded to keep their lights on because why not, right, Donnie?
Exactly.
That pretty much sum it up.
Exactly. That pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, and we do talk about some dark things sometimes, and I know some absolutely wonderful people that come on the show. Rob Guttrow is going to come back on Animal
Ooh.
Communication with his new book, Spirit Cats. Can you believe it? So he's going to come on and talk about that, and we had a wonderful Christmas show with him last year, the Three Spirits of Christmas, because he
I
met
remember that.
he met the one in the watching the play, I believe, and then he bumped into John Wilkes Booth in the gift shop. Sarah, he was there. John Wilkes Booth was hanging out with my friend Rob in the gift shop at Ford's Theater while he was watching A Christmas Carol being portrayed there at Christmas time at the lovely Ford's Theater. So he came in and talked about that. Another one he bumped into too. I can't remember who it was, but there was three, hence the name and all. But he'll be back, and I'm trying to get Richard Sennett back on, because if you guys haven't had a talk with him, he's been in this game for, oh gosh, it's got to be more than 50 years,
Hmm.
you know, and he's still in it. He's still active in it, and a wonderful communicator, for the dead, for the afterlife, an advocate for the supernatural, the wonderful, the magical. He's very into magic and everything. And Richard was one of these experts. Like, if you ever watched an older shows like The Shining, not The Shining, what am I talking about? Sightings, uh, In Search of, like we just watched, or any of these older shows, they would have the little expert in the bottom corner. Like, they'd ask questions to, like, somebody would tell their ghost story and they'd go, well, sometimes ghosts do that. You know, they'll try to get your attention, and it's not necessarily, whatever. It'd be that expert that's saying that stuff. Richard was that expert when I was a kid. So he's been at it a long time, and I've had wonderful conversations with him, and I'm looking to get him back on, and some wonderful other people. We just know wonderful people here on the show, friends of the chat. Everybody in the chat is wonderful. Um, you know, Help us out. Thumbs up, share it out. You can contact me, journeythroughthegate@gmail.com. That is my email, journeythroughthegate@gmail.com. You can leave a comment underneath the when YouTube plays the replay of the live show, and it instantly notifies me. So that's a quick way to get my attention as well. If you need to tell me something, I'm on Facebook. We have the Gatekeepers group on Facebook. It's Journey Through the Gate Paranormal Portal Podcast Gatekeepers on Facebook, and also Cisco Murdoch on Facebook. You can hit me up there. So that's the way you can get me. The T Public is lots of gear. Donnie's got a T-shirt there. Crispy, there's plenty. There's Steve Stockton's got stuff over there, and there's all kinds of different. The cupcakes, the Shut the Fuck Up cakes is over there, and all the Gatekeeper gear as well. So welcome aboard. I hope you enjoy it. Like I said, it goes back and forth. We did a 5-part series on Amityville. Tore that sucker apart, upside one, down the other. Tore it up, didn't we, Donnie? From beginning to end, flipped out some good information, that pretty much tells us it was a little bit of everything. It's not all one thing or the other, on that case. And after 50 years, I'm comfortable sitting back and saying that there was definitely something going on, but there was definitely a lot of lying and shenanigans going on too. So, and that's basically how this shit usually pans out, no matter what we dig into, right, Donnie?
Yeah.
And look at Abraham Lincoln. That was amazing. That Abraham Lincoln series was what,
Yeah,
and
that
then
was
we
good.
ended it with all the paranormal stuff involved in it. It's just so big. It's so big. You know who else is a real good one we need to get into one day? George Washington. There is a man that so many layers, and so, I mean, just so complex, yet so simple at the same time. But what a warrior, I mean, to go in there, I mean, had his horse shot out from under him, I don't know how many times. I don't even want to quote it, because I don't want to undersell it and I don't want to oversell it, but more than once, I mean, how many people can say that? And what they went through to battle, the loss after loss after loss, and then to continue to move on and to press forward. And it's an amazing story. It really is. I think it's worth digging into, and so a lot of supernatural things involved too. George Washington was also one who believed highly in a lot of superstitions and a lot of paranormal things. Had lots of visions and things. So, all right, guys, listen. It's been a great night. And I love y'all, and welcome aboard if you're new. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We are up to, I don't want to get it wrong, but I think it's 1,470 subscribers. So share it out. Again, comment, like, thumbs up, all that stuff. It all helps YouTube, push us past that algorithm, because, like I said, we talk about some stuff and I run my mouth a little bit too much. So we get unmonetized and pushed back down on the bottom of the pile. But we got to tell the truth. Might have to talk around some things, but we try to tell the truth, and it's good common sense. We try to help each other out. If you know that mowing will take down the swelling on a sprained ankle overnight if you make a poultice of it, and half of it's got it grown in the backyard. And if we can't tell a good neighbor something like that, then what the hell is this country and world coming to? So, tell it, and don't let the granny witches die out. Spread your magic, spread your love, spread that damn light, and keep it burning. We'll see you tomorrow night. Donnie, it's been a blast, baby.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been fun.
Good night, everybody.
Oh yeah, good night, folks.
Good night, everybody. I think we're almost out. Oh man, they buried my stuff. I'll find it. Here we go. And it's not a perfect podcast either. We're like real up in here. Right, Donnie?
Oh yeah.
All right, good night.